up, y'all? What you gotta say? No, because now I'm telling on myself. I'm only 27. Because people keep asking me. So yeah, I'm only 27. So stop asking, okay? My name is Passion No Less Necessary. You should already know that, because I introduced myself in previous episodes, and if you follow me on the socials, you know that No Last Necessary is all one word. That is the last name. No Last Necessary, because the first name says it all. And you do know that some of the episodes are scripted and some of the episodes are not, and this one is going to be one that is not, because I was just reflecting on an experience that I had. And if you follow me on the socials, you know that that's how this podcast was born. And so I love story time. And I was reflecting on an experience that I had, and that's what really prompted me to talk to you all today about this particular subject. I am here battling with this hangnail because this is why my feet are out, because while I was soaking my feet, and it was wonderful, I put in there? Myrtle and clove bud, because those are comforting, and peppermint oil, because that's cooling, and lavender, because that's relaxing. Yes, praise the Lord, saints. My feet feel glorious, okay? Shifted my whole mood, because I was in a space. But now, amen. But this hangnail, I didn't soak my hands. And so this hangnail is disturbing my peace. And that's why I keep looking at my hangnail instead of looking at y'all. So, story time. So I have this painting of Oshun on my wall. And when I was trying to get it up on the wall, actually I had put it up previously, and I went a very bootleg route. I didn't have all of the equipment that I needed, right? So I was using some wall hooks that you can peel off the wall later on. It didn't adequately support the weight of the painting. So like 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm in my bed, my girlfriend's at my house, she's in the living room. Kablooey pow pow, we hear this huge crash, neither one of us knows what it is. So we both jump up to go see what it is. My painting that cost so much money to be framed is on the floor. Fortunately, it's not face down. It just slid like straight down, and it didn't do any damage to the frame. One time for my framer though. I mean, but we only gonna give him a half of one time, because that might have been avoided had he put the mounting string on properly. But since he put it on the only sideways angle, like getting it on the wall has been his own experience. In any event. So Oshun was not on the wall for a very long time. And I wanted to make sure that she was on the wall because, like I said, I know y'all nosy, so y'all always be trying to like look around and see what you can see. So I wanted to make sure that she was on the wall. And, you know, this is a beautiful painting. It has no business being on the floor. So in any event, I call one of my friends who was not available to help me mount her. Pause. So I call another one of my friends and I'm like, can you help me get this painting mounted? He says, all right, no problem. So now he's like, well, what do you have? I'm like, well, I have one of them Dollar Tree, the little Chipichanga picture hanging kits. He said, that's fine. That's what we need. I said, be advised. The nails are kind of suspect, right? So he's like, nah, it's good, right? Now, this is somebody who, like, does labor-intensive work all the time, right? Now, what you may or may not know about me is that I am Barbara the Builder, okay? I like building stuff. I like putting stuff together. I'm definitely that person. Like, I'm definitely that woman who makes her partner uncomfortable slightly because, like, he's feeling like, yeah, I'm gonna build this. Like, nah, bro, I didn't buy this for you to build. Go buy your own stuff. I want to build this myself. Not because I'm trying to, because I went through this in a relationship. So this is a sidebar. I went through this in a relationship where he felt like a little challenged in his manhood because, like, he wanted to do these things for me, but it's like, okay, but I enjoy doing these things. So now you hate on my process, like, because I want to build. And he wanted to build. But then he wanted to build at his own time. But, you know, I got to give him his credit only a little bit because he's another one. But we're not going to talk about that. I'll be getting sidetracked. But for the things that he did build, he did a good job. And I was appreciative. We finished with him because I ain't got other nice things to say about him. So, in any event, the janky nails. So we're trying to get this we trying to get the hooks into the wall. This is very unsuccessful. We finally are able to get one in. And then we're trying to get the other one in. Unsuccessful. We're trying to get this up. And the hooks are, because the string, like I said, when he framed it, he didn't put the string even. The string is higher on one side than it is on the other. So while the actual, let me keep my arm down because, you know, sometimes I don't be grooming myself properly. Don't judge me because I'll clap at you in the comments. But in any event, when we put the nails, it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do on both sides. So it's like, okay, well, this is perfectly even, so why is this not working? So now we're still trying with these janky nails. Now, I told him I have 1 1/4 inch nails, and they have a bigger head for him to, you know, have a better surface. But he still wants to use the little Dollar Tree nails. And I'm not shading Dollar Tree because, like, I live, okay? I live. But maybe not for, like, a painting that's almost as tall as me. And you know what? If you follow me on the socials, you've actually seen me with this painting before. So you see that the painting is literally comes to my shoulder. I'm only 5'3" 3/4. But considering how tall that means that this painting is, that's... So he's hammering and he's hammering and he's trying to get it into the wall. And in certain places it's working out, in other places it's tearing up the wall. Then the nails keep bending. Then just all these different things are not working. And so I'm thinking about that with respect to relationships. And sometimes the issue that we're having are because we don't have the right hardware. We don't have the best hardware for the relationship. We're in a relationship, we're in a situation, we're in a whatever, some type of space where we have to interact with people, but we don't necessarily have the right hardware. And because we're lacking the correct hardware, it doesn't hold things together the way you need it to. I like crafting. So I had a crafting project that I was working on, and I was going to build a cabinet out of cardboard, and I ended up not being able, well, it wasn't that I wasn't able to finish it. I decided I was going to scrap it, and I had done a lot of work on it. And the reason I decided I was going to scrap it was because after having looked at so many videos, I thought that the method that I was using was the best method. And then I started feeling doubtful, like maybe this wasn't the right something. And as I'm thinking about this, it wasn't so much the hardware itself, right? Because I wasn't using nails, I wasn't using hinges, but the glue, it wasn't heavy duty. So while it has the capacity to hold things, it's still going to bond things, and it's going to give the cohesion and adhesion that it needs to. At the same time, it wasn't heavy duty enough to maybe support things that I wanted to put in that cabinet based on the way I was putting it together. And so I didn't feel like it would be successful. I think we need to be a little bit more mindful of the hardware that we're using when we're trying to hold our relationships together. Communication is a tool, and it is one of the most underused tools. Trust is part of the hardware. And all of this came up really because I was looking at, I actually was putting the studio together, and I found this folded piece of paper on the floor, and I didn't know what this folded piece of paper was. I'm going to detail it for you very briefly. After we take a break, I'll come back and we'll talk about it a little bit more. But I found this on the floor, and I opened it up to see what it said. And it started out with trust in the definition. And then I looked at it, I noticed that it was a poem, and then I saw that there were some other things here, and I was like, this is really interesting. And the cohesion, right, the cohesiveness that's lacking was based on the trust. And we're back. So, evidently, I had written a poem, and from what I was able to surmise, I followed up. I'm such a nerd. I'm definitely not somebody you want to argue with because I'm the person who takes copious notes. I have to laugh at myself because the way how my mind works.
That's a thing.
Oh, that's a thing?
The hell was that? You said copious?
Copious.
I'm going to mark that one down.
Okay.
Continue.
Well, the definitions will always be at the bottom of the screen.
You said it too smoothly, too. Like,
yes.
Copious.
Yes. So the poem. Let me get back to this place. We flashing back to a time before when we'll talk about that at another time. Anyway, so this was a poem, and I'll talk you through it. So, trust, firm reliance on the integrity, ability, or character of a person or thing. Lust, intense or unrestrained sexual craving. In order for me to love you, I must trust you, and I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can rely on your character because I don't understand, because I don't know if I understand its basis. One definition of character is moral or ethical strength, but one who lies could be viewed as one with a warped sense of ethics or lacking in moral fiber. Can I be in a relationship with a man who will allow his intense or unrestrained sexual craving to overshadow his integrity or his character? Can I look at a man every day and always wonder about his value system? Can I love him in spite of himself? Can I respect him when I can't rely on him? Because after all, the first virtue of truth is firm reliance on the integrity, yada yada, you know the rest. Let's evaluate. Integrity is defined as steadfast adherence to a strict ethical code, bringing us full circle to ethics, of which he seemingly has none. Ethics are the rules or standards governing the conduct of a person, but when you conduct yourself with lustful thoughts and truthlessness, then you have no sense of ethics. You have no integrity, whereby rendering me unable to trust you. If I can't trust you, I can't love you. If I can't love you, then I must leave you. If I must leave you, then my heart will be broken. If my heart is broken again, then I'll surely die from emptiness and loneliness. There are easier ways to kill someone, but why me? Y'all, I used to be in some dark places. Let me tell you. This is exactly why we gotta do Salt to Yourself Saturday. I be trying to drag y'all out these dark places, cause honey, them corners with the cobwebs, child. Cause I was ready to die from loneliness and despair.
If y'all watch Moesha, remember she writing her poetry? That's gotta be in the background.
Yeah. Y'all don't listen to him, okay? Don't listen to him. The point is, I wrote that. And then apparently we had an argument. And so I documented his key points in the argument and responded to each of his key points. Now, I'm not sure if there was like a text message or if this was a verbal argument. I'm fairly certain it was verbal, but who knows? Because this was at a time when we don't need to talk about when it was, because then y'all going to be asking me how old I am. I already told you I'm 27. Stop asking me. So that was a true poem based on a true relationship that I am no longer in from some years back. And what's so funny is that I definitely have been in this space of having conflict with trust, with having dealt with someone recently who I feel like their integrity was lacking. I feel like they were not forthcoming about their intentions, and I feel like given an opportunity to either be direct about their intentions going forward or to correct the wrong that was done, they took the advantage to do neither. And so at this point in the juncture, how do you go forward? But it goes back to us trying to mount this painting and recognizing that the hardware that we were working with was lacking. Right? The communication is lacking. I'm telling you A, and instead of you responding to A, you're circumventing A so that you can not deal with it and just move on to B as though A doesn't matter. A still matters to me. So if it doesn't matter to you, then it doesn't count. That's not how this works. That's not how we're going to get this beautiful picture mounted on the wall. It's not how we're going to get this expensive framed painting posted. We have to have adequate hardware, right? So in order for the beauty of what could be to be mounted and on display, then we have to do the work. We have to do what's required. But we also need the correct tools. We need to make sure that the hardware is on point. And save the hardware when you are getting rid of something. This is good. This is good right here. Save the hardware, because hardware is expensive, right? So if the hardware, and I think y'all might have heard my stomach is talking, it needs some nourishment. But in any event, wants to be my co-star, but I already have my co-stars. So save the hardware. Why do I say that? I remember when I had bought this lock-in closet, and the closet fell apart because there was too much weight on the inside of it, and there weren't any supports underneath it to properly support it so that the base didn't buckle. And once the base started to buckle, everything else started to fall apart. And I'm like, okay, there's no point in me keeping this. I can't close it properly. I can't use it properly. I don't need it. I don't want it. I want it out of my house. I had already had one previously, and I had gotten rid of that due to a similar issue, but it wasn't as bad. This time it was a disaster. Before I threw it away, though, I actually disassembled it, and I saved all of the hardware. If you've never built anything, this is good. Come on, preacher, you better preach. If you've never built anything, you don't know how expensive hardware is. You might be able to go in Dollar Tree and get a hammer and get a screwdriver. You can even get a wrench. You could definitely get a hacksaw. You could get a handsaw. You can get blades. There are a lot of tools, but you can't get the hardware. What am I talking about with the hardware? I'm talking about the nails. I'm talking about the screws. I'm talking about the anchors. All of those different pieces, you can't get them in Dollar Tree, right? You have to go to a hardware store or a do-it-yourself store like Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Value, whatever. If you've never built anything, then you don't know that a box of screws can cost a lot of money. A lot of money. So keep that in mind for if you're ever having something done by a contractor. When they go to the store to buy the supplies that are needed, all of that is what's configured into your expense. It's not just the labor. The labor is its own project. But the actual items, if you want quality items, it's going to cost you more. Period, point blank, the end, inarguable. You don't believe me? Ask the one friend that you have that has to do anything that's labor intensive, whether they're a porter, whether they're in buildings and grounds, whatever they have to do, if they have to do anything, if they're a contractor, if they have to do anything that requires drills, hammers, screws, nails, and there are different types. Y'all, I'm getting excited after my body temperature going up. There are different types of hardware, right? They're different. When I say different types of hardware, I'm talking about like there's different types of nails. There are different lengths. There are different head sizes for the nail. The same thing with the screw. People who are accustomed to using different tools, you have somebody say, oh, hand me the Phillips head. You need to know the difference between a Phillips head screwdriver and a flathead screwdriver. So the same thing applies for the screw. You can use the flathead with the screw type that has a Phillips head. However, a Phillips head screwdriver is not moving anything with a flathead screw. These are things that you need to know, right? So why am I getting so deep into hardware? Because I'm a nerd. Besides that, hardware is very expensive, right? But what it does is it holds things together that most of the time are also expensive. Most of the time, you don't want them to fall apart. So in relationships, your hardware is your communication. Your hardware is your commitment. Your hardware is your integrity. Your hardware is your truth. Your reliability. If I can't rely on you, what are we doing here? If I can't trust you, what are we doing here? And if I can't have open and honest dialogue with you, what are we doing here? And why are we doing this? If you're not big on verbal communication, I get that and I respect that. It does not matter though, because you still have to use it if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody else. You want to be in a relationship with yourself by yourself? Be blessed. But if you want to be in a relationship with somebody else, you're going to have to be able to communicate in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And let me tell you something else. For all you people that's like, oh, I'm not really good with talking, I'm better with writing. Get to writing then. Okay? Because that really irritates me and irritates other people when you say, oh, well, I'm not really good at talking, I prefer to write. And now you got 1,000 pens and 1,000 pencils and 1,000 notebooks in front of you, and you ain't wrote the first letter. So we're still not communicating, even though the door to communication is open, even though I'm willing to meet you where you are. I'm willing to meet you at your written platform, and you're still not taking advantage of the platform. Then the issue is not the medium. The issue was that you just never really wanted to communicate. Whether it's because you're afraid of your vulnerability, that's another conversation, it's another issue altogether. But it's a necessary piece of hardware. Be mindful of how you use your hardware. Be mindful of how you store your hardware. Be mindful of where you purchase your hardware. Be mindful with whom you share your hardware. So passionate, I'm not going to keep you too much longer because I've given you a lot to think about. I've given you a lot to consider, right? The hardware is essential. Recognize what the hardware is, right? What the purpose of the hardware is. It's to hold everything together in relationships. That's your trust, it's your integrity, it's your communication, it's your reliability. That's your hardware. If your hardware is faulty, it's not going to hold your stuff up. It's like using the Dollar Tree hooks. No shade to Dollar Tree, because I love Dollar Tree. But it's like using Dollar Tree hooks to mount a painting when the package clearly says it's not for painting mounting. You don't want to put something expensive because if it falls, it'll get damaged, right? If the hardware is faulty, the relationship is going to get damaged. So you want to be mindful of where you're getting your hardware from. Is your hardware, if your communication skills are coming from bad relationships in the past, and the only communication you've ever done is arguing and yelling and being dishonest, faulty hardware damages the end product. So it'll damage the relationship. Be mindful of where you're getting your hardware from. Be mindful of the quality of your hardware. Fine-tune whatever you need to, right? There are certain tools that you can go and you can get them like professionally sharpened. If you were using a screw and the tip of that screw was dull and you needed to get it through a cement wall, that's not going to work. You need the screw that has the right tip, period. The same way you need the tool that's going to properly drive that screw into the wall. A flathead might move a Phillips head screw, but a Phillips head screwdriver is not moving a flathead screw. It's just not. And for a screw that needs to go through a cement wall, you need a totally different tool. You can't use your little cheapy changa Black & Decker $10 basic screwdriver. You need something that's going to drive through cement. You need the drill bit. That, again, with the hardware, you need the correct drill bit to drive the screw through, and then you'll be able to go from there. I don't want to sound like I'm talking in circles. I just was in that space. I want you to go forth. Be great, be filled with bliss, be armed and empowered with knowledge. Make sure you pay attention to the kind of hardware you're using, where you're getting your hardware from, how you're storing your hardware. I think that's enough for today. In all things, be passionate. I'm going to talk to you later.